What's going on, Bigger Pockets? It's Matt Faircloth. So today's conversation is about real estate agents. Real estate agents are awesome. Real estate agents can bring us deals. Real estate agents they can help us sell deals if you're doing flips or if you want to unload a rental or something like that. Real estate agents are a necessary part of the real estate business. And although the real estate business is changing and how properties get marketed is changing, at the end of the day, real estate agents are here to stay, I believe. So today's video is about working with agents, and also should you, when you're looking for property, should you work with multiple agents or should you pick just one? There's not an easy answer to this conversation, and I think that it goes back to first let's understand what agents are and how they operate and how they're compensated. Okay, so agents are just that. They are agents. A real estate agent is acting on behalf of the owner, who's okay, not to get too complicated, but real estate agents are actually acting on behalf of their broker, who's acting on behalf of the owner. There's a broker's license and a real estate license in most states. But let's keep it simple and say an agent is acting on behalf of the owner, and they're marketing a property on behalf of the owner, and they're paid something in exchange for marketing that property on behalf of the owner. They're paid something called a commission. Okay, a commission is a percent of the sell price. It ranges. Commissions can be on super big properties like big apartment buildings. They can be in the 1 to 2 to 3% range. And on smaller residential property, including small multi, they can be between 5 and 6%. And so if a property sells for $100,000, the commission is 5 to 6% of that. So $5,000 to $6,000 is the commission that agent gets. They do not get any other compensation typically from their broker or for any other part of the transaction. They in essence eat what they kill, which means that they only make money when a property sells and trades. Okay, now that's the selling agent, right? There's also a buying agent. Okay, the buying agent typically makes money. They make a chunk of this commission too. So if you're working with agent A and the property is listed with agent B the selling agent has to cut this buying agent in on the commission. Now that doesn't work at all in the multifamily world. In big apartment buildings and stuff like that, typically the way that works is the commission's paid by the selling agent, and the selling agent typically will not work with a buying agent. If you approach a property, it's that agent only. It's the agent's listing. You're working with them. They're representing the owner. They're not representing you, and there is no buying agent unless a buying agent can negotiate a deal with this person to cut them in on this commission. Or sometimes the buying agent may ask, and we'll get back to this because it's an interesting conversation, may ask you to pay a buyer fee or a buyer commission. Okay? That typically happens on bigger multifamily, where if you're represented by one agent and the property is represented by a different agent, you may have to pay a buyer commission. Okay? On smaller residential properties, stuff that's listed on the MLS, stuff that's listed online, and just stuff that's, say, less than 50 units, it's typically where there's just this commission, which is just a percent of the price. Okay. And then these two agents split it, okay? Or you just work with this person. So why am I telling you all this? The reason why I'm telling you guys all this is because it goes back to the question of working with multiple agents on deals. Agents are compensated on what they produce. So when you go and talk to multiple agents and say, hey, I want to work with Susie and Sally and Johnny and Derek and this guy and on down the list, and I'm going to tell 15 agents in a marketplace that I want to buy a property. They all, or maybe will look for a deal for you, but if they figure out that you're talking to 15 agents, they might not be interested in working with you because there's a likelihood of them getting paid is going to be fairly low, right? So here's a few more things for you to understand before we go further, okay? You guys have all heard of this, the MLS, okay? If you're dealing with smaller residential properties, single family homes up to, as I said, probably not up to 50 units, but say up to about 10 units, those properties are likely going to be listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service. You can access the MLS likely through realtor.com if you want to go online. Also Trulia and Zillow tap into properties that are on the MLS, and you can see them as well. Realtors, that is their primary source for properties 10 units and less of properties for sale is the MLS. So if you go and tell 10 agents you want to buy properties, they're all going to send you the same deals. If you give them the same parameters and say, hey, I want to buy a single family home in Albuquerque, New Mexico for between 50,000 and 100,000, and it's got to be in that neighborhood. If you're that tight on your parameters, and you should be tight on what you're looking for, if you tell that agent that's what I'm looking for, guess what? They're all going to look on the MLS. They're all going to send you the same deals. You just wasted a bunch of their time. You could go look on the MLS yourself, or you could tell one agent, hey, listen, this is what I'm looking for. Send me some deals. Then you go and tell the reason why you want to work with multiple agents that are in the say 1 to 10 unit range, okay, is because sometimes there's the MLS, but other times they're going to give you first look at a deal. Okay, a seller may come to them and say, hey, Realtor Sally, I'm looking to sell my house. I just want to get rid of it. I need maybe somebody that's looking to invest may want to come buy it because I just want to let it go. It's an inheritance. It's going to be a good deal, but I'm not really concerned about getting top dollar. I just want to dump it. They would likely call you, even if, and it might not even hit the MLS. That's just how the world works. Unfortunately, that's not how it's supposed to go. It's supposed to go to the MLS and it's supposed to get bid up and stuff like that. But a lot of times, really good deals don't even make it here. Okay? That's really the state of the economy today, is good deals don't make it here. So for a 1 to 10 unit, you want to tell a few agents what you're doing because you want to try and generate what's called a pocket listing or an off-the-market deal. Okay, to get an off-the-market deal. Now, those realtors, you may have to close a few transactions. You may have to take these realtors seriously to get a pocket listing off-the-market deal from them to trust you. Because they're not going to call 10 people. They're likely going to call 1 to 2 people if they get an off-the-market deal or a pocket listing like that. And they need the person to bring in to give a fair price, to close, to not go and play games with the seller or anything like that. They need them to be serious. So it might take a while to establish yourself with a realtor on if you're buying between 1 and 10 units to get that pocket listing off the market deal, and that's okay. I mean, maybe it takes a little while to build a relationship. But the bottom line on this is just respect. Okay, is treat everybody with respect. Okay, to respect this. Respect the fact that they got to make a commission. Respect the fact that you don't want them to just run around and waste your time. And they're not going to take, if you don't respect where they're coming from, right? That this is how they make a living, to feed their family off of it and stuff like that. If you go to say, no, I'm just going to go tell every agent that that's what I want to do, and whoever brings me the best deal is gonna win. Then you're not respecting them. And you're also denying something else. There's another factor that we need to talk about here, and this is something called procuring cause. Okay? Procuring cause kicks in like this. This is yet another reason why you don't want to go and talk to tons of agents and say, hey, listen, I want a deal, and they're going to send you stuff off the MLS. I've seen people get in trouble on procuring cause. Procuring cause is something that works like this. That if, let's say you got 2 realtors here, okay? You got John and you got Dave, okay? They both send you a house, but John sent it to you first, and you went and looked at it with John, okay? Right? And you went and looked at it with him, and you says, hey, I like that house. Let me think about it for a little bit. And then Dave gives you a call and says, hey, I got this house. And it's the same house. And you should come take a look at it. And I happen to know the owner. I happen to know the listing agent. I'm going to see if I can get you a better deal. I'm going to see if I can get your offer to float to the top. And that's very nice of Dave. I think this is John and that's Dave. So let's just say that Dave convinces you that you should submit your offer on that house, right? Here's the problem you got. John introduced you to that deal. John has procuring cause. He made you aware of that property. He took you to it and showed it to you. He could probably prove that he was the first one for you to open it up in your inbox. So if you buy this property with Dave, John has the right to come back to you and ask for you to compensate for his commission. And I hate to use the sue word, but he could, you know. And so you have to be very careful about procuring cause. And procuring cause, again, there's lots of definitions for it, but what it means in essence in your language is if a realtor sends you a deal, use that realtor to buy the deal. Don't try and use this other realtor who may be able to get you a better deal, or because you like this realtor better than that realtor. Or God forbid, and I've seen people do this, do not try and go directly to the homeowner. I had this happen recently where we didn't do it, but a friend of mine was aware of a house for sale, also knew the owner. A realtor sent him the listing, and my friend called the owner direct. Okay, well that's another good way to get sued. If he ended up buying that property from the owner, then the owner and the buyer probably could get sued. Because procuring cause, awareness of the property for sale, was brought by the agent. The agent also has a contract with the owner to represent them as an agent to buy the property. Even though they knew my friend outside of closing, they still can't sell it to you personally, right? Unless they list you as an exclusion. That's getting complicated. But procuring cause, that is a big reason why working with multiple agents is actually a waste of your time as well. Because if one agent sends you a bunch of stuff off the MLS, right, that's pretty much what's available. They then have procuring cause because they sent you all that property, they made you aware of it, they can show you opened up the email, they can show that you looked at it, you maybe called them and asked them a few questions. They introduced you to that deal. That gives them procuring cause. There's no reason for you to talk to 10 other agents that are just going to send you the same stuff, right? You're really having a race to see who can send you emails first, okay? And who can show that you opened up those emails first. So I hope I'm being clear here. The MLS has really leveled the playing field for stuff that's on the market and listed on a national basis. You also want to tell people that, hey, listen, if you get pocket listings, I'm working with Johnny, but if you bring me a deal, I'll work with you, and if it's an off-the-market listing. So you want to network and talk to agents and make sure they know that you're for real. And obviously, another tip here is to, when you're finding agents, now we've understood procuring cause, we've understood how the MLS plays into this thing. Let's just say, let's use Albuquerque as an example. You want to buy in Northwest Albuquerque, and you want to be around a certain geography. So you want to research that geography and find out who like the top 5 agents are. Okay. If you're doing a flip, look to see who sells fixed and flipped houses. Look who has the most sales volume in that area. Look who has the most sales. Not just volume, but in dollars. Like who sells the most expensive properties in that area, if that's the price point you want to go for. Really research your agents, and don't just find someone because they have a nice smile. Find someone because they are experts in the type of property you want to deal in, whether that's a flip or a rental. You can find that data on Realtor.com. Look to see who's listing different properties that are similar to what you would want to buy. You can say, hey, Sally, I see that you sold 3 apartment buildings last year, 3 10-unit apartment buildings or 3 5 units or whatever over the last year in Northwest Albuquerque. Well, guess what? That's what I want to buy too. Can't you help me get one of those too? And Sally will say, great, that's what I specialize in. I do marketing for those kinds of things, whatever. So find the top 5 agents that are in markets that you're in, and then introduce yourself to them and let them know, hey, listen, I can close quickly, here's what I'm able to do. You're putting yourself into their psychology that maybe you would be a good off-the-market lister. And then let these top 5 agents, like find one that floats to the top, okay? And let them be your point person for the MLS, okay? So say, hey, listen, I want you to send me stuff on the MLS. And if they fall on their face after a couple weeks of doing this, then you go to the next one, right? You go to the next one on the list and say, I want you to send me properties on the MLS. And then you can kind of go down to the point where somebody's willing to hustle and work for you, send you a lot of deals. But don't forget of the other agents that you have, because they might produce something that works for you, okay? Now, I think that I've covered it. Bottom lining everything. Don't forget the MLS has leveled the playing field, and so at the end of the day, you're really wasting a lot of these folks' time and their livelihood if you go work with a bunch of agents and tell you to send you stuff off the MLS. Just go with 1 or 2 that you like, and off the top 5 agent list, and make sure that the one that you pick is going to hustle for you, right? Don't forget about procuring cause, because you can get yourself in trouble and you can waste a lot of people's time if one agent sends you something and you end up closing with somebody else. Right? So these are all great thoughts. This really strategy that I'm talking about here plays in small multifamily. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about big multi as I close it out. All this works for, let's say, stuff that's on the MLS. When stuff's on LoopNet or larger properties or bigger apartment buildings or stuff, when deals don't even get listed at all. As I said, there really isn't a buyer's rep. All there is a seller's rep. So there's no real agent that's going to scour a market and send you stuff off the MLS or off of LoopNet. It's really your job as a buyer at that point to go forth and find the agent that's listing the deal. You've really, in essence, become your own buyer's rep. Okay? Think about that for a second. You become the one to go out and find the deal. You become the one to go out and find the opportunity, kick the door into the realtor and say, hey, I see you list apartment buildings in that market. I want to be on your buyer's list. Then there's more aggressive, you have to get more aggressive with them, get in front of them, make sure that they know that you're serious. That's on the on the bigger apartment building side. But remember, there's really one agent typically involved in those instances, and that's this one. Okay? So you want to make sure you get to know all the agents. You do not want to work with just one agent in this arena of the large apartment building. You want to get to know all the agents that are in a market because they're not going to share with each other, right? John that's listing this apartment building is not going to let Sally that is also a commercial agent in that market come and bring a buyer. They typically won't do that. They might do it if they work for the same brokerage in the same office, but I've seen realtors and commercial brokers really not cooperate with each other, even if they're in the same office. It's a very lone wolfy, dog eat dog kind of world out there for those guys. Because again, it takes a long time to get those deals, takes a long time to get them closed, and these commissions can be hefty. But then they may only make 2 or 3 commissions in a whole year's worth of time frame. So it's very important for them to protect that commission as best they can. So that's why they're very leery of letting in a buyer's rep. They want to represent the whole thing. Right, so that's tips on apartment buildings. We can get more into that in a later article and video. So questions down below, ask questions. I'd love to answer your questions, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch and read this article. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a great and profitable week.